In the name of Almighty Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. As Muhammad, peace be upon him, narrated, if any man travels on a road in search of knowledge, Almighty Allah will cause him to travel on one of the roads of paradise. Hello everyone, this is Dr. Tariq Masood. Thank you very much for watching my videos and your wonderful support to make this channel a grand success. We are a family, a partner. Please share and subscribe our channel if you haven't done so far. We as a team can work together to convert challenges into opportunities and opportunities into success stories. These success stories can be monetized into value addition in the world by large. Thank you very much for your precious time. Today I'm going to discuss my lecture number 14 on Center of Excellence, Hazard Analysis, section number 6. Before my lecture, I used to read a Quranic verse. Qala Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli Allahumma Rabbi zidni ilma. O my Lord, open my chest and ease my task for me, and loose or not from my tongue that they may understand my saying. Allahumma Rabbi zidni ilma. O Allah, advance me in my knowledge and true understanding. Okay. Center of Excellence, lecture number 14, HAZID a study guidelines, section number 6. Okay, we are still studying HAZID identification management system over here, and after that we will discuss QRA, quantitative risk assessment management system, and safety integrity level SIL analysis as well in my near future lectures. Okay, key takeaway points from HAZID section number 6. Okay, key takeaway points from section number 6 of HAZID guidelines. Okay, first external environment hazards and then facility hazard. These are two sections we are going to discuss today. Okay, we are at the last stage of HAZID study guidelines. So these are appendices we are going to discuss today. Okay, the first is the checklist. So the second, the risk assessment matrix. Number 3 will be H&E register, and the last will be HAZID actions. Okay. The first we are going to discuss HAZID checklist. The major hazard are found by experience of the previous HAZID studies. It is not intended to be a totally exhaustive, and constant feedback from a user is appreciated to maintain the most effective current working versions. Okay, some section of the checklist are relevant to the conceptual or combined study only. Okay, first we are going to discuss section wise. Section number 1, external and environment hazards, then section 2, facility hazards, and number 3 will be health hazards, and number 4 will be project implementation issues. Okay, from my next slide we will study or we will discuss the HAZID checklist. Okay, HAZID checklist. Section number 1, external and environmental hazards. So number 1, natural environment hazards, created hazards, that is man-made, effect of the facility on the surroundings. Number 3, number 4, infrastructure, and number 5, environmental damage. Section number 2, facility hazards, control methods of philosophy, fire and explosion hazards, process hazards, utility system. Number 4, number 5, maintenance hazards. Number 5, construction and existing facilities. Number 3, the health hazards. So it comprises health hazards only. Okay. Section number 4, project implementation issues, contracting strategy, hazards recognitions and management, contingency planning, and competency. Okay, now we are going to discuss section number 1, external environmental hazards. Okay, first a category, number 2 are guide words, and number 3 here expanded examples of the guide words application, that is not exclusive. First, natural and environmental hazards, as we have discussed in my earlier slides, and created hazard, that's a human factor or man-made. And number 3, effect of facility on the surroundings. Okay, the first guide word climate, the second guide word security hazards, and number 3 geographical infrastructures. Okay, the first is climate extremes, lightning, earthquakes, erosions, and subsidence. Okay, so when the climate change happen, so then the second is security hazards, that is a terrorist activity or terrorist attack. Number 3, geographical infrastructures, that is proximity to populations, adjacent land use, proximity to a transport, corridors, environmental issues, and social issues. Okay, now we will discuss expanded examples of guide words application, not exclusive. Okay, first is temperatures, waves, wind, dust, flooding, sandstorm, ice, blizzards, that is a ground sliding, coastals, so the ground structures, foundations, and reservoir depletions. Okay, internal and external security, threats, riots, civil disturbances, strikes, military action, political unrest. Okay, number 3, that is a plant locations, plant layout, pipeline, routine area minimizations, crop burning, airfields, accommodations, camps, shipping lines, air routes made the land use, the vulnerable of fauna and the flora visual impact, local population, local attitude, social, cultural areas of the significance. That is the expanded example of the guide words application, but not exclusive. Okay. The section number 1 we are still discussing. So the next categories, guide words and expanded. The category first will discuss infrastructures and environmental damage. Okay, first guide words is a normal communication, and second is a continuous plant discharge to air. Okay, in the infrastructure, first normal communications, communication for the contingency planning and supply support. Number 2, continuous plant discharge to air, continuous plant discharge to water, continuous plant discharge to soil, emergency upsets, discharge, contaminations, or ground facility impact, waste disposals, options, timing of the constructions. Okay, the first expands the example of the guide words application, but not exclusive. First is the road links, air links, water links, consumable and space holding, etc. And the second is the flares, vents, fugitives, emissions, energy efficiencies, target, legislative requirement, draining facilities, oil, water, separations, drainage, chemical storage, flares, vents, drainage, so area minimizations, pipeline routing, environmental impact assessment, so that seasons period of environment significance. That is how the example of the guide words application, but not exclusive. Okay, so the section number 2, facility hazards, first category, guide words and expanded example of the guide words application, but not exclusive. First is a control methods and philosophy, and second fire and explosion hazards. Okay, the first guide words, mining operation and philosophy. Second is stored flammable materials. The mining operation philosophy, operational concepts, maintenance philosophy, control philosophy, mining levels, emergencies response, concurrent operations, startup and shutdowns. Stored flammables, service of ignitions, equipment layout, fire protection and response, operator protections. Okay. First, expanders, example of the guide words application. First, we'll discuss effect on design, effect on local, manned, unmanned visits. So the one, a train, two, simplifications, a plant, a trains, equipment, atoms, heavy lifting access, override, a bypass. So commonality of the equipment, a transport, appropriate technology, DCS, local control areas, accommodations, travels, sports requirement, contingency of the operations and maintenance of philosophy, etc. Isolation, ESD philosophy, blowdown philosophy, flaring requirement, productions, maintenance requirement, modeled of the plant height. That is all the example with coming with the management operation philosophy. Okay. Second is improper storage. Operator error, that release defect, impact. The mitigations measurement includes substitute, non-flammable, minimize and separate inventories, electricities, static electricities, flares, sparks, hot surface areas. Mitigation measures include identify, removal and separate, confinement, escalations, releases of explosives or flammable fluids, operator errors, defect, impact, process control, flares, corrosion, etc. So that will be mitigation measures include of the reduce a degree of confinement space based on the consequences assessment, escalations, barriers, active passive insulations, fire gas detections, blowdown relief systems, philosophy, firefighting system facilities, means of escape, PPE, communications, emergency response, and plant evacuations. Okay, so from the number second, we will discuss process hazards and other safety measures. Okay, the first is the process hazards and the utility system. So the inventory and the fire water system of fuel gas. Okay, so inventory, release of inventory. So over a pressures. So that will be included in the expander example of the guide words. First, access hazardous materials. Mitigations measures includes minimize hazards, inventory, alternate process and utility systems, access process stress, impact, penetration by foreign objects, process control failure, structural failure, origins or corrosions. Mitigation measures include recognitions and minimize a process hazard during design, inherent, safe plant, contaminant and the recovery measures. Offset sources of process blockage, thermal expansions, connections of the process to utility system and chemical reactions. Atmospheric conditions, blowdown, fire, hot surface, chemical reactions, overfill storage tanks, loss of functions in separation vessels. So the blowdown steams vessels, offsets mechanisms, failure of separation process, build-up of wrong phase, sand, hydrates, etc., and toxic substances. Okay, so the second, the utility systems, fire water system, fuel gases, fire water system, fuel gas, heating medium, diesel fuel supply, power, steam, drainage, inert gas, waste storage and treatment, chemical fuel storage, potable water and sewage system. Okay, so the section number 2, facility hazard, the next category, and guide words and expense. The first is maintenance hazards and construction existing facilities. Okay, the access requirements and tie-ins, shutdown requirements, concurrent operations. Okay, the first access requirements, override, necessity, bypass required, the commonality of the equipment, the heavy lifting requirement of transport. The second, tie-in shutdown requirements, concurrent operations, tie-in shutdown concurrent operation, reuse of material, common equipment capacities, interface shutdown, blood, and etc. So the skip dimensions of weight handling equipment, congestions or soil contaminations, existing facilities, mobilizations, demobilizations, excavations near existing cable or trench. Okay, the first oil spillage confined space, and the second is similar to that. That the oil spillage confined space vessels, pipes, pits, sewers, containers, sumps, tunnels, trenches, excavations, portable containers, and main holes. Then next is the confined space vessels, pipes, pits, sewers, containers, sumps, tunnels, trenches, excavations, portable containers, and manholes. Okay. Okay. Conclusion. Today we have discussed Appendix 1, Checklist 1. We have discussed natural environment hazards, guide words, and their expander and examples. Number 2, we have discussed man-made or created hazards. Number 3, effects of the facility on the surroundings. Number 4, infrastructures. And number 5, environmental damage. That is section number 1, checklist number 1. Okay. In section number 2, checklist number 2, we have discussed control method and philosophy, fire and explosion hazards, process hazards, utility system, maintenance hazard, and construction and existing facilities. Okay. Okay, next topic on hazards, section number 3, we will discuss health hazards, and section number 2, project implementation issues. Contracting strategy, hazards recognition and management systems, contingency planning, and competency issues. Okay. There are a few references. The first is Qatar Petroleum Doha Qatar's Oil and Gas Development Corporation Limited, Pakistan, World Energy Outlook 2030, US Geological Survey, US Department of Energy, Schlumberger's Oil Field Glossary, International Energy Agency IEA, Wikipedia, Oklahoma State Oil Marginals, Commission's Pumpers Manuals, State Oil Fact Sheets, Norwich Standard Norway, The Story of Oil in Pennsylvania, Air Liquid Gas Encyclopedia, Natural Gas from Wellhead to Burner Tip. Okay. So please do not hesitate to send me your feedback comments at t.masood.dr@bath.edu. You may send me your input on WhatsApp. I have also provided my WhatsApp number. Thank you very much for your precious time. Please stay at home, stay safe, inspired, and blessed. Thank you very much again.